You are just too expensive. That's the number one objection that you're gonna get when you start to call shippers and speak with customers, right? There's this misconception that brokers are, since they're in the middle, that they take too big of a piece of a shipment, and therefore that makes working with them a little bit more expensive with going to carriers direct. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna explain the psychology behind why a customer might be giving that objection to you, and exactly what you have to say to overcome that objection and convince them that working with a broker is a lot actually cheaper in the long run than working direct with carriers. So let's get right into it. So this objection is usually used by some younger or inexperienced traffic managers who don't have much qualified experience working in logistics. When shipping managers use this, what they're doing is that they're comparing your rates directly to rates that they received direct from carriers. And that's usually going to show up as a 10 to 20% discount because carriers are giving them your cost, right? Because brokers obviously have a little bit of a margin on their quotes to customers, right? Let's think about how to attack this from a way that is logical and actually reverses this and shows that there is a value add to working with a broker. So I'm going to tell you how we do that, and it's very effective. So the first thing that we do when we get any objection, and we talk about this a lot on the channel, is we try to ask a question to get to the root of where that objection is coming from. But in this case, what I would do is I would start to ask questions that will lead up ultimately until the answer, right? So if a shipper says you guys are way too expensive, I don't like working with brokers, I like working direct with carriers, what I would say is, okay, I understand. Yes, brokers are a little bit more expensive. Carriers, working direct with them can be cheaper. As far as price is concerned. But let me ask you, has a carrier ever dropped a load on you, and do you remember what that felt like? They're gonna say yes, because that has happened before. That's happened to everybody in logistics. From there, you're going to say, okay, so a carrier's dropped something on you. What did that cost in customer upsetment? In other words, were your customers upset when you weren't able to deliver your load when you promised it? Was a production line messed up? Did anything happen from that driver dropping that load? They're gonna say yes, because every single drop shipment has a repercussion down the supply chain, right? That's why the supply chain is inefficient. It assumes perfection, but it never is. Really quick, if you are enjoying this video and you are getting any value at all, what I want you to do is I want you to scroll on down to that little button right there, hit the subscribe button so that you never miss out on any Freightbroker mentor updates, tips, tactics. The last thing I want you to do is fall behind in the Freightbroker game. It's constantly moving, constantly changing. It's important that you stay on top of things if you ever want to develop your business, right? Now, while you're at it, give this video a like. It helps more people see it, gets the word out there, and eventually will help shape the industry for the better. After they acknowledge that, what I would say is okay, here's the difference between working with a carrier and a broker. When you call a carrier, you are just one small customer to that carrier. You could only give them so many shipments per week, per month, per year, right? So they might not prioritize your work over mine. And here's why. When I call a carrier, it's the same weight as your biggest customer calling you, right? You're going to drop everything for your biggest customer. You're gonna take care of them. You're gonna take whatever request they have at whatever hour, right? When I call a carrier, it's the same concept. Because instead of only offering them one load every once in a while, I have a box of 100 loads that I could give them at any point in time, right? So there's much more value in building a long-term relationship with the broker on the carrier's side. And what that translates to is me being able to pass on capacity and discounts to you. And here's another thing about working with brokers. You don't have to pay me unless I perform. If I'm not covering loads for you, you're not paying me. So essentially, where you could be paying a dispatch manager to sit in your warehouse and try to cover loads all day, you're only paying me when I make something work for you, right? So I could make 50 phone calls on a shipment. If I don't cover that for you, you're not paying me for those 50 phone calls. The price might look higher in the short term, but over the long run, because of the inefficiencies of the supply chain, we're actually cheaper. All right, let me give you one more example of why working with a broker is cheaper. When you work with a broker has the ability to replace a lost truck. A carrier does not have that ability. A carrier has to go and find a new driver that runs under their MC with their equipment, with their insurance, and reassign them to a load. A broker, on the other hand, has the ability and the authority to call hundreds of carriers that are in an area and match up a new one with your load if something were to happen. Right? So that's another benefit of working with a broker versus working direct with carriers. At the end of the day, it's less work for you, Mr. or Miss Customer, and it's more leverage that you have with a carrier base. And that's how I would handle that objection. It's a common one that you'll have, so watch this video a few times. Pretty soon, that objection will not restrict you from getting in to any more customers. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, what I want you to do, make sure you like this video and subscribe. That'll keep you up to date on all things happening in the freight broker world. And one more thing I want you to do, if you are interested in this kind of stuff and you want a little bit more help, I want to personally invite you to join my Facebook community. It's a private community. It's called the Freightbroker Network, and it's where I hang out with all of my broker friends, where we talk shop, talk about networking with carriers, sales, rates, and industry trends that at a level that you don't really see anywhere else on the internet. So go ahead, click the Facebook link below, invite yourself in, I'll approve your request, and then you can join the conversation. Until the next video, I'll talk to you soon.